We'll take a break real quick before we get into the Ren Monroe Show, and then we got some sobering statistics around yellow fever. We got some statistics around men, black women. So, as we were talking about yellow fever, red bones.
Why are you looking at me?
Because you're red bone. You're red bone.
No.
Yeah. So let's get into the statistics in reference to marriages and the key points as far as why the black woman is losing the black man. Some of the black men that's out here. So currently, it is Asian females who have the highest rate of marriage to black men. Historically, Asian American males marry African American women due to lack of Asian women in the United States. After the Emancipation Proclamation, many Asian Americans immigrated to southern states like Arkansas to work the plantations. After the Chinese Exclusion Act, Chinese men increasingly married black women in the West Coast, Jamaica, and other Caribbean nations. Welcome, man. Come talk to us.
Oh, thank you. That's also happening in Africa right now because the Chinese are there building the infrastructure, and the men are dating the African women, the Chinese men, African women. We know in social psychology this is not actually anything amazing. People mate with and marry who they're around, and they kind of put a period at the end of the sentence. They're like, I don't know why this is a mystery.
Right.
And so the trend of yellow fever itself, actually in the United States, tends to be a Western phenomenon. This is not going on necessarily in Mississippi, Alabama. It's some in Georgia. Why? Because there are fewer Asian people there.
Right.
So here you have really a very small population of blacks when you consider the South. Here in California, a large population of white men, a large population of Asian men. So Asian women,
right,
and vice versa. So people marry who they're around. That's the social psych version of it.
Well, that kind of makes sense. And here we are, history repeating, just like Keith was saying about back in the day when there were no Asian women. So the Asian men, hooked up with the African American women, and like you're saying now in Africa. The Asian men are they're over there working, and history is repeating itself again because now there's these beautiful black women. That's what's around.
That's what's around. So that and all that is still true, but I like to go just a step deeper because in any population, when it's just natural like that and you mingle, I don't see anything wrong with that. What I'm looking at is when I think there's agenda. And when you look at the media, we're force-fed images, for example, of it used to be the white woman was the ultimate feminine, and no other woman could come close to that. Her hair, her eyes, the way she walked, talked was feminine. Black women were almost considered animals, and then the Latina had the stereotype of being the hot Latina, couldn't be controlled, all these ridiculous stereotypes about. And then the Asian woman, I don't know that much was said about her. But here in recent history, I think, and it seems that the Asian woman has actually replaced the white woman as the ultimate feminine.
Right, right. And I could see that. But I mean, a lot of stems from culture. And I could see where an African American man is attracted to an Asian woman. And forgive me for saying this, but culture plays a key role in this. Submissiveness, excuse me. And then the way they cater to the man. And of course, and you look at me strangely about that, but just based upon me seeing it walking down the street, different relationships as far as the Asian woman and the black man, culture plays a part. Their physical makeup, even more so now. You have a lot of Asian women who has taken upon the body structure of an African American woman. And let me flip this. Also, now you have a Caucasian woman that's going around getting lipo for her lips, her breasts, and her butt. Now, I'm going to compete with the sister now, but it still falls back. And again, I'm just on the outside looking in.
Right.
My choice is the African American woman. Period. Dot. Now, but at the same time, in some brothers' eyes, that's my trophy right there.
I was going to save this for last, but I see that I
Come
can't.
on with it,
We got to
Ren.
talk about patriarchy now. So first, I have to say to Asian women and men who are listening, I know that you are not the stereotypes. All Asian women are not. They're not submissive.
Right.
They're
Right.
intelligent. There's diversity. You know, and what about the tiger mom stereotype, where she's taking no mess? This
Right.
stereotype is the black woman, roll your neck. It's the Jewish mom. It's the West Indian mom. People come in all kinds.
Right,
The
right.
reason that for patriarchy, men, oh wow, okay, so patriarchy is men rule. So a man's word is worth more than a woman's. A man earns more than does a woman. You know, when you think about even the Black Lives Matter, it's black men's lives, because we can't even name the black women who are gunned down by police. That's why we recently had a protest in San Francisco where black women came out and bared their bodies, saying we were shot too.
Right.
This is going on, and even when there was the time to vote, even when the vote came about, our wonderful Frederick Douglass drop-kicked black women so fast in order to get black men to vote, it wasn't even funny, as did white women. So all of this is men's lives matter most. What's happening is domestic patriarchy is in a sharp, rapid decline. You can't earn the money you used to. The woman's earning money. This started with the birth control pill in the 1960s, when women realized, I can do what I want and I don't get pregnant.
Right.
Cool. Men were like, I have access to all these different females. Completely changed everything else. That was the first thing. The other thing to know about patriarchy is it always, always follows the economy. Back in hunter-gatherer societies, everything was mostly equal. That's what a lot of the anthropologists say. Why? Because the women could get the berries, and men only had to hunt for protein once or twice a week. It was just cool. Agriculture comes along. Now the man is not out hunting. He's close to home. She has more children. She's laced to the house now, and he has a little bit more authority. When you get to the industrial economy, men are working, women are really in the house, because they don't have the brute strength to do the lifting or whatever in factories. We don't have an industrial economy anymore. It went to a service economy. Now women gather a little bit more steam, because that's hospitality, hotel.
Right, yeah.
Now that's gone. We're in a technical economy. It has flattened everything. If you want a business, just start up online. So the patriarchy is in a sharp decline, domestically speaking. The other part of patriarchy, there are two other things, and I'll make it brief. It has to be propped up by women. Why? Because it's a domination ideology. It has to be propped up by somebody. Racism is propped up by blacks being on the lowest rung, whites on top. Men, patriarchy high, women low. It's going to decline. So what happens is you need to look for a woman who makes you feel like a man. White women are working now. That's not going to happen for the white man. She's looking at him like, you need to come with it.
Right.
And then also with the black women are like, please. So each of these groups of men are going to what they assume to be more subservient women.
That makes sense. I understand that.
Well, share with us.
I understand.
He's just like, what?
This is great information, but share with us a social psychology around this thing. How does it fit in with us? You made examples on, the Asian, Caucasian woman saying, okay, step up. Share with us how it applies to our household, because society says this woman will not get benefits. Coming from certain stages, you can't get benefits if the man is in the house.
Right. Okay.
Now, this woman that's black, she can get the job based upon the black man who's equally qualified. Share with us about that point of view.
Right. And so that's really great, Brother Keith. So when you look at, it's still patriarchy again, but of course, remember when I said if white men catch a cold, black men catch the flu, and then black women catch cancer.
Right.
So it's kind of like, if the white man is struggling and can't get Susie in school because it's too expensive, what in the world's happening to black men? Can't get a job, can't really work, and you're supposed to be the protector of the house. How can you when you're being gunned down the street? The conversation that I think you're pointing to is a very painful and emotional one. It's one where, of course, we love each other. That doesn't make any sense. Of course, black men love black women, and black women love black men. Of course that's true. What happens is, how can I be the feminine woman happy to see you come home when I've worked all day and I've dealt with the kids, and then when I look to the white, the society says you're supposed to bring me flowers and candy every day, and you can't even help me with food, I might be feeling some kind of way.
Right.
And then how does the man look at me and say, I know I can protect you from rape day and night. Oh, by the way, I know I can't keep our children from being shot in the street. I know I can't. I can't imagine what it's like to be a black man going through that. The masculinity, he's not going to be able to measure up a lot of them.
Trust me, sister, every day it's a struggle.
I can only imagine.
Not just coming from the woman, but coming from society, coming from the white man that has the suit and tie on, and unfortunately, even our own.
Even our own.
That sits behind the desk because he's not comfortable in hiring another brother that's qualified.
Right.
So trust me, the struggle continues. It goes on and on and on. But there's also a saying from the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said, in order for us to love one another, we first must love ourselves. It starts there, but at the same time, as a black man, it's a struggle. It's a struggle.
But part of that love,
and not trying to minimize anything.
No.
Don't feel sorry for me.
No.
At the same time, understand where I'm coming from.
Right.
Yeah, I'm coming. Yes, I have that, and I agree. I'm coming from a totally different angle with the social psych, which is when you say love yourself. What we really know that means is, what images do you have of yourself in your mind? Because the brain is a computer. And if you put garbage in, garbage is coming out. If you put good in, good is coming out. When the images, every video game, everything you see on television, we internalize those images, and then we act those images out. So self-love for me means get the knowledge, understand, just have the understanding of how you were created. Society has created you a certain way. Then you can break it loose for it. Then self-love is natural.
Well, knowing thyself.
Yeah, know thyself.
Knowing thyself.
That's what I'm saying.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Knowledge is absolutely power. So I think at the end of the day, the black family was hit with the welfare queen thing, where if a man was in the home, then you lose the benefits,
Right.
But then he can't get a job. So that split up the black family. Then I was looking on this. Actually, more black men are married to black. So 86% of black men are married to black women. 94% of black women are married to black men. Of the black men who marry out, they do 7% white, 7% other. This was from the census of 2010. It could have changed, but they haven't done a new census yet.
Right.
And so but they also did a study that showed from the end of slavery all the way up to 1960, there were more black families married than white.
Really?
1960 is the pill. Then when you come on up from there, it still was pretty high for black people until you got to 1980. What happened in 1980? War on drugs.
Crack. Yeah.
And that's thanks, honestly, to Ricky Ross, black dude who brought this into the black community through Ronald Reagan and the war with Noriega and all this kind of stuff. So, no, I wish you hadn't done the drugs, but if you ain't got no job, you're going to self-medicate with whatever's cheap. It's not an excuse at all. It destroyed our families. So a lot of this that we think are our personal problems, I can't be with a black woman, I can't be with a black woman, I can't be with a black man, really is war on drugs, welfare, and the economy tanking, patriarchy falling. It's outside in.
Yeah.
The conversation's painful. It's I love you and I know I'm not enough right now and I'm hurting because of it. That's the conversation.
What's the divorce rate amongst black marriages?
Valerie B has that.
Yeah.
Well, here are some statistics. It's saying that black men and black women who marry, they can get married, but the divorce rate is very high. Up in the 50% area. But then you get the black woman married to a white husband, it's 44%. But
that's almost half.
Right. But you get the Asian woman married to a white man, the divorce rate is almost less than 4%. So the thing is, yes, black men and black women, they're getting married, but the divorce rate is much higher than any of the other matches. And actually 1 out of 7 households in the United States are interracial couples. Okay, but the divorce rate overall is high with interracial couples, but when you break it down and get to the nitty gritty, the divorce rate among Asian women with white men or Asian women with black men are far less.
Right.
Far less than the black on black marriages. So when we talk about yellow fever, and it's a cultural to do, the Asian women, as a matter of fact, 36% of Asian American females are more likely to marry outside of their race, as compared to only 17% of Asian males. So my research shows, when I was just going online looking at, and that the Asian woman, she's the stuff now. Like you said, the white woman that was on the pedestal, like you said, now, you know, they're looking at their white men too. It's like, what?
That's how I came to this show at all. I was having dinner with one of my white friends, and a couple came in, Asian woman, white man, and her whole body language changed. I'm like, what is that? She goes, I just hate that. I'm like, why? She goes, well, how dare they?
Oh.
But then after I've been with other white women friends, it kept coming up.
Right.
And then there's even a film called Seeking Asian Female by Debbie Lum that was on this subject, and I did look at it. I got it on Amazon to look at it. But at least since I'm bringing up Asian, let me just say a little bit about what they're saying. The Asian man, there was a comedian who owns a show, Fresh Off the Boat. And he made a mistake of saying, well, the Asian man is the new black woman. And, of course, the black feminists were all over him for that one.
The Asian man is the new black woman.
Because there's a study on OkCupid, one of those little dating sites, and the least sought after were black women and Asian men. But see, there was another man on this thing, and I'll wrap it up.
Really?
Yeah. But there was another man on this website who said, he summed it up for me. He said, if men would date their own, they know they're going to get yelled at because those women know too much about us.
Hello.
And now he summed it up. He was like, so we already know what's up. I know if I date an Asian man, I know if I date an Asian woman, she's not going to have that messed up.
Right. Well, and you know, you brought up a point, and it, you know, date whoever you want to date.
Yeah.
If whoever makes you happy, that's my thing. That's fine. You don't have to be locked into a certain race or whatever. But what you were saying, my point of view, I understand that. And I'm not a psychologist or sociologist, but another part of the black man, the black woman issue, when, you know, the black men at first they were with the white women, now that they is, and what you're saying is, we are of the same culture. We black women know the black man knows us black women. We've suffered and been through a whole lot together. So and I'm just gonna say it, we both know that we ain't taking no mess from each other. We know each other too well.
Yeah,
and
we
sometimes
know the strong points and
right. And so it's easier now. It's easier now, maybe, for a black man to say, okay, not that he doesn't love us black women, but he knows that us black women aren't gonna just sit back and just let him slide on through and not call this stuff out.
Okay, on that note right there, Valerie B., you know, in the black on black relationships and everything, getting to know that person, you know, at times, once I share my heart with you, my feelings, my shortcomings, and then here you go down the road, when we get in an argument, you're going to throw those things in my face.
But
as daggers.
Wait, but not just us women, though, but that's human nature. Not just you telling me,
not in, I'm talking about in reference to relationships.
True, but
okay,
not necessarily. It ain't so much that you've shared things with me that if, you know, we have an incident and I get mad, I'm throwing in your face. If something happens and I get mad or whatever, what I'm going to throw in your face is what's really happening. You know what I'm saying? It's not that I'm going to take what you've shared with me, you know, on a personal note and just go bam, bam, bam.
Okay, so how do we deal with that? How do we build, not just deal, but how do we build on that? Not taking no one's shortcomings and using them for your gain. How do we build on that?
Oh, one of the core themes of Ren Monroe Show is knowing that you are the other person, first of all. It's hard to point the finger.
Yeah.
It's always pot calling the kettle black. A black woman saying to a man, you weren't here for me, you didn't protect me, where were you? Is the same way as what she might have to say to herself, well, where was I for myself? Right. And then a black man is saying, you don't love me, you don't respect me, and you just, you know, we have a bad attitude. He would need to look in the mirror and say, oh, where's my bad attitude? Well, it's always that.
Well, you know, as we conclude, that's why I always tell the woman, stay in the car with me. Stay in the car. You know, let's roll together. Stay in the car
and
with
that
me.
goes both ways.
Every day the sun ain't going to shine.
But that goes both ways. You know, like I said, and I'm going to say the black man, and I'm not sliding you all. You guys have been through some stuff that might even be irreversible psychologically. You know what I'm saying? So I get that, but it goes both ways. You know, I could say the same thing. You stay in the car with me.
And I think black men only because of privilege. Believe it or not, patriarchy does afford some privilege. Like I said, with the voting, I don't know that you know our struggle really, like we need to. I mean, the black slave woman, she may have been in the house, but she was raped morning, noon, night,
in front of the man.
And then she had to deal with the mistress. Then she had to deal with the kids. Then sometimes the mistress would kill her kids.
Well, then she had to deal with her husband, mad because he couldn't do nothing about it. Then she gets beat.
Then she had to pick more cotton than the man did. And even in current days, that ghetto woman in this society at home, she's dealing with all of it. And so it does go back. I'll stay in the car with you, but you stay in the house with me.
You dang right.
And we'll do that. So just give us some snapshots on what we got in store next week, Ren.
I'm working on one of two things, but the thing I think I want to follow up on is something called sex transmutation. It is a G-rated show, so calm on back down.
Okay.
But it just has to do with, if you really want something, sex is the energy of creation. So when you put that totally into the physical, you're not going to start a business likely. You have to transfer the energy over.
But you might get some business at first. If you put the sex in, but it may not
last. It's short-lived. But I mean, really, with the business economy that we need to be focused on, there's a reason that every image of a black person is hypersexualized. There's a reason.
I got to meditate on that one.
Well, she's going to tell us about it next week.
I got to meditate on that one. But
I like what she's
just
doing
create
with
those
that.
bullet points. And of course, I really appreciate every time you step up to the mic, you deliver.
Well, thank you so much.
So in closing, Valerie B., what can you say as far as building a strong relationship between the black man and black woman?
Well, I mean, obviously the first step is communication. You have to learn how to communicate, listen to one another, have open communication. Don't let things build up. Something's going on, find a time to address it right then if you can.
At the moment.
If you can, but don't let it build up until it gets to the point to where then there's a lash out.
Yeah.
So what I'm just saying is just try your best to communicate and understand each other. Put yourself in the other person's position. Like Ren said, it's projection. Think about it before you start to yell or, act up. It's like, wait a minute, let me stop. Why am I mad at Keith?
Yeah.
Is it because
something that
me?
you're dealing with? Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa.
Yeah.
And be accountable.
Absolutely.
Be accountable in your relationship. Don't put it all on one when it's both.
Well, as we wrap this show up, I'm going to definitely be accountable. And when I see you, I see me. Until next week, peace and blessings.
All right.